You're listening to a special bonus edition of the Machine podcast here at Waterford Institute of Technology. My name is Rob O'Connor and I'm joined in studio by Eamonn de Leastar, Colm Dunphy of the Department of Computing and Mathematics alongside myself. And we have now been joined by Joan Mangan from the School of Education and Lifelong Learning. And Joan, you're very welcome along to the podcast because you are the first person who isn't a big geek like the rest of us.
Thank you, Rob.
Now, this is a special edition of the podcast that's a kind of a companion piece to the previous episode where we looked at adult learners and how somebody might approach IT later in life. And we want to specifically look at a course that's on offer here at WIT at the moment and is about to take in a new entry of students, which is the HDip, or Higher Diploma in Computer Science and / ICT Skills. Eamonn, you've been involved in this course from the very, very beginning. Could you maybe give us a brief rundown of what's involved?
Yeah, so we've been running it now 4 or 5 years, but we've just moved to completely online. So it's a new offering of the curriculum we've established over those years. Purpose of the program is to get people who already have degrees, so it's a level 8 entry to the level of a programmer, equivalent almost to someone who might have done a 4-year degree at undergraduate level. So it's software development skills they're focusing on, programming, web development, database, computer science, computer systems, networks, DevOps, web development in detail, and mobile app development.
So if I'm in the previous one, we used somebody who might work in a factory or an accountancy firm or whatever, it doesn't matter. This course is not aimed at somebody who already has a computer science degree? No.
Sometimes we do have people coming in to get their qualifications moved on, maybe who might have had computer science from 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. But it's largely aimed at the word cognate is used to describe the kind of degree they might have, which means it could be business systems analysis, it could be engineering, it could be architecture. We've had all that in the past. And occasionally we get humanities people having a go. We've had musicians and we just had an artist coming in yesterday who was going to give it a crack in January.
Right, and this is reflective of the changing landscape of the Irish and international economy. Colm, you've been teaching on this course for a number of years and you've been heavily involved in the course moving from traditional delivery to online delivery. So traditional delivery will be somebody coming in, attending classes, going about their business, and it's very much geared towards a present commitment, whereas online delivery is an entirely different beast.
Yeah, so online last year, in the last year we've been moving it forward. Online is done 2 ways, so it's probably good to clarify. You can do live online, and you can do it not live. And the terminology they use is synchronous or asynchronous.
So when you say live online, what does that mean?
So that means at 12:15 we're going live. We're operating a class as if it's a live program, and you're expected to connect into a video channel, and you're meant to communicate in real time with the class. So the lecturer is doing everything live. The students are responding to the questions live. So that's what we mean by synchronous. Asynchronous then is not live. So we might pre-record a class, pre-record the tuition, put it up as a video with materials, notes, and you're expected to work through that at your own time, at your own pace, whenever you want. So they're the two distinctions. And in the last year when we've been trialling this, we started live. And then we've now got a mix of both, and that seems to suit some students. Some learners like the idea of live because when they don't understand something, they can ask the question straight away and get a response straight away. Whereas when it's pre-recorded, they can post a question, but they may not get an answer for several hours. So it's more immediate when it's live.
So this is a part-time course, okay, considered a part-time course.
Yeah.
So does this mean somebody could continue working?
Yes. So actually a requirement for the course is that you are working.
Okay.
And what we've tried to do in our first offering was to provide the course at a time that suits everyone. And that time doesn't exist. Okay.
Okay.
So we offer we would have 3 classes a week. We would have each class on a separate day. We tried to offer it at lunchtime because we found that employers were more open to if their students, if their employees were taking the course, they could give them a longer lunch break, and that would allow them to take part in a live class. And that was an extension from when it was delivered face to face, when employees would be allowed time off to attend classes. So we were following on from that, but we're constantly evolving. So that's what we mean by part-time. There's also homework to do, labs, and they have to be done in your own time. So that might be done at night after work or overnight. It's interesting, for the first few weeks, we tried to be 24/7 responding, because we were very anxious that everybody would get an answer as quickly as possible. Nearly killed us, but we did it anyway. And what we found was there is no suitable time that suits everyone. Some people, there are peaks that I've noticed. 7 o'clock in the morning is a peak. 7 o'clock at night is a peak. 1 o'clock, most people are finished by 1 o'clock. That's what I've noticed. But not everyone, not everyone. But we also found that 2 o'clock is a magic number as well.
2 p.m. or 2 a.m.?
2 p.m.
Right.
So people will start asking questions at 2 p.m. And, that can be because they've come back from lunch break, and before they get stuck into their afternoon's work, they can just dip in for a few minutes. So that's something I've noticed, not just across this course, but other courses.
Eamonn, you wanted to come in there, I think.
Yeah, and the kind of, if you're doing an undergraduate program here, you'd be doing 6 modules.
Yes.
In any given week. You'd be doing at most 2. So
this is on the HDip.
On the HDip, yeah. So you got to focus more. You've got a kind of a clearer agenda. We're guiding at about 8 to 10 hours per week. So it's a substantial commitment on this particular program. Could be a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on how you're finding the discipline itself. And those 8 hours largely you'd spend that suit your schedule. So live is part of the experience, but everything live is also recorded. So if you can't make that, you watch it later. And in fact, from the current students, about half of them can make it live, and the other half can't really because of work restrictions.
Yeah. Joan, you're in the School of Education Lifelong Learning. You're involved in the management or the running of this course, but you also have a kind of a personal story of coming back to education as an adult learner. Now, not specifically on this program, but before we began this podcast, before we began recording, you were saying that confidence was a big issue.
Yes, absolutely. Confidence is a very big issue for adult learners. When you decide to maybe test the waters of educating yourself in another discipline, you're essentially creating a story in the chapter of or a new chapter in the story of your life. And I think that one of the issues with adult learners is it's a generational thing as well. You assume that all the kind of the young guns coming in from Leaving Cert, they know it all. And you're you're the geek essentially in the classroom that doesn't know anything. But on the other hand, adult learners, when they do get past that hoop of having confidence, then they have so much to offer as well. And an awful lot of it comes from transferable skills as well that they have built up in their previous careers. It's so important. They know how to solve problems. They're very organised. They know how to deal with flexible situations and all that sort of thing. They're extremely good in a lot of cases with communications and in teamwork. They can bring the skills that they have learned from their past careers, as Colm alluded to earlier there, for the guy that was shop manager,
But this is in the previous podcast. In a previous podcast, yeah. So I would see that, lifelong learning is the way, the reality of life today now, because change is happening in every sphere of our lives and that, and it's so important that with this confidence as well, that you have academics that create a supportive environment, and administrators like myself that create the environment in which learning can take place at an optimal level.
And so, and adult learners are very good at, like that, asking questions. If they're not happy with something that they're learning in class, they will ask the question. And questioning and curiosity, Eamonn referred to it in a previous podcast as well, the previous podcast, are the basic elements of learning. Because if you don't ask questions, you're not going to get answers and you're not going to learn from that. So I would say, I went back to education myself. I had a degree in social science from the the early 80s when I decided to leave school and save the world and so on. But, then I graduated in the gloom of the 80s as well and went straight into finance, AIB, banking and so on. And was pay the rent, sort of a decision. And basically, anyway, but, I did come back into, I suppose in the general discipline area of business and that, and I did come back, but it was small steps. And I thought that in WIT, the opportunity to do a course at a level 8 was fantastic for me. And it gave me the confidence then to proliferate and to take that step to a master's level at 9 as well. And I think I brought a lot as well. When we did a lot of, it was on-site course, so we were, and it was part-time as well, and I had to do a lot of organisation around home life and managing kids and so on. But, sometimes adults love the challenge. The challenge is really good, and if you have that challenge, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, as and if you meet the challenge and get your goals or whatever, by my God, it is so satisfying at the end of the day.
Eamonn, I just want to talk to you about numbers for a second, because this is I'm not directly involved in this course, but I think you said something like on the current iteration of the course there's something like 50 students. Is that correct?
We're recruiting 50 for January.
But the current course, how many have you got?
Currently we've got about 20.
20. Yeah. But if you're talking about 50 plus 20, that's 70. That would rival any of our undergraduate courses at all. But I suppose maybe what's strange, if we saw a group of 70 going around in the halls of WIT, the corridors, we'd go, God, look at all them. There's a huge number of them. Whereas because we don't see them, that might be, I don't want to say an alienating factor, but they're hidden.
Yes, and part of the challenge is to make a community of them and then maybe integrate them to some of our community. We're taking steps on the first one in that the online experience is quite social. We use a channel, an infrastructure called Slack, which allows us to do group chat and one-to-one chat, voice and video calls and group collaboration. And the students spend a lot of time on that, supporting each other. And of course, we use it as a key part of our delivery mechanism. Yeah,
I use Slack in some classes, well, as many people would. It's a standard kind of communication tool. And I find it interesting that a lot of students on other courses, they're sending silly pictures of themselves and kind of commenting on it. And it becomes a bit of crack as well. Like they were sending pictures of each other up at the board. I was doing some whiteboard stuff day before yesterday. And they were all joking about how everyone in the photo seems to be eating a pen. It's kind of silly kind of stuff, but it's nice because it helps to
build a community.
Yeah, it does.
Now we do also bring them on site, so this particular course will come on site 2 times a year anyway. We'll do 2-day sessions. We bring in industry to meet them because part of the program is work placement. It's kind of central, and Joan has a key role in that in the previous version and also in this version of securing paid placements for the final 6 months of the program. So we get them to meet the employers who were interested in the year or 2 before they're ready for that. And then we also run various workshops and give them good induction on site as well.
So let's say somebody who was listening to this and was thinking about, God, maybe I'd like to get into IT. What do I do next?
Well, this particular program, go to the WIT website.
Which is wit.ie.
Yeah, /ICT Skills. And there's a very comprehensive page there that Eamonn has developed, and also a link. We will have a link to a few podcasts, and also some. You have testers on the modules as well, so you can actually try out and see if it's suitable for you.
Closing date, Joan?
Closing date. A little bit of a movable feast just right now, but we've now extended out to the 30th of November. We've had a lot of interest in the course. course, and we ran interviews yesterday, and we've filled a lot of the places now. So it's a good opportunity now for anybody who's interested in it to get in touch with me. They could contact us on 051 302849, or they can send an email to springboard@wit.ie, and we're available to answer your questions at any time.
So that's for the entry of, essentially, entry starting for January 2019. But this is, so if somebody's listening to this at some stage in the future, there's probably another intake and another intake. Yeah.
We'll be expanding this, certainly. There are fees, I should mention.
Yes.
So it's a government sponsored program. You might have heard of Springboard in the past. The government pays 90% and the students pay 10%. So it's 850 euro.
Yeah.
But it's a 2-year program.
2-year program.
Yeah. Part-time.
Yes.
Excellent. If anyone does have any questions or queries about the programme, the HDip in computer science, do contact the lads in the School of Education, Lifelong Learning, as Joan has detailed. I'll also tweet out those links on machine_podcast. And again, get in touch with any of us. You'll find us on the WIT website, and we'll be only too delighted to answer your questions. Folks, thank you very much for your time and your chat, and hopefully we'll hear you again on the podcast soon. Joan, you're not getting away from us.
Thank you.